Hi, shalom friends. Timing is everything. As we know that if you come a couple of minutes late, you miss the train, you miss the plane, and heaven forbid if it's your anniversary and you miss it by a day. That's a big no-no. Which leads us to an interesting observation. Ordinarily in the Jewish calendar, Purim, which is such a festive and happy holiday, follows approximately 6 weeks after the month of Shvat. But this year, it's actually 2 weeks after the month of Shvat, but this year it's actually 6 weeks. And you say, oh my gosh, we are really off. But actually, we're not really off. Timing is everything. And this year we have a leap year, so we actually had an entire month of the month of Adar before the month of Adar. So we have 2 Adars. And we are now in the second month of Adar, and we're going into the second week of Adar, and Purim will be very soon. So we haven't been wasting our time, by the way, because each day of Adar we've been preparing for this holiday. So we actually have, instead of 2 weeks of preparation, actually close to 6 weeks. Well, what is this holiday all about? This holiday is about joy. It's about belief. It's about trust. It's about acceptance. And perhaps most of all, it's about we are in the hands of God, and through the Torah, we could be assured of being held tightly. In fact, the mazel, the astrological sign of the month of Adar, is Pisces, fish. Fish are in water, and the rabbis tell us that this is a symbol of the Jew who's always surrounded by God's presence through the study of Torah. In fact, the Midrash tells us that when the wicked Haman, who was throwing dice, a lottery, trying to find a lucky month, in italics, to destroy the Jew, when it came to the month of Pisces, he said, oh, this is great, fish swallow up fish. I will swallow up the Jew. To which the heavenly voice responded, silly man, who says that you will swallow the Jew? Maybe the Jew will swallow you. And indeed, that's what happens. It was a turnabout. And the mighty and arrogant Haman had a terrible downfall, terrible for him, joyous and proper for us. The Medrash further continues with an illustration of Haman and says, the reason why I called him for a moment ago silly, he was actually very wicked and wise, but he was silly in the broader sense, thinking that he could outsmart the Almighty God. So many tyrants before him, whether it be Nebuchadnezzar or Pharaoh, and many tyrants since then have tried to destroy the Jewish people. None of them were successful. Unfortunately, some of them wounded us grievously, but never destroying man, woman, and child in one day. And yet, this idiot actually thought he could do that. And the Medrash likens it to a bird that was put something on the sand. Actually, laid an egg in the sand, and then it was near the ocean. Came the tide and took away what the bird had deposited. Well, the bird got so angry at the ocean, he said, I will show you. And what it did was it flew into the ocean, put some water into its beak, flew back to the sand, and dropped the water onto the sand, and kept on doing this. So another bird brain asked, what are you doing? And this bird said, I'm getting back at the ocean. I'm going to dry out the ocean little by little. Says the Talmud, that's exactly what Haman was trying to do. Trying to take, to destroy an eternal people that are guided by an eternal God. That's silly. That's as silly as taking water in the beak of a bird and pouring it out on the ground. The Rebbe has an interesting insight on this particular part of the Midrash and points out, again, what Haman was trying to symbolize was, little by little, I will take the Jew out of his water. I will take the Jew out of a Torah environment. But the response to that is, it's impossible. You can never take a Jew out of a Torah environment because we are in love with the Torah, and we are one with the Torah, and the Torah is our life. And to separate us from Torah is to separate us from our very being. So I want to wish you all a very happy Purim. Timing is everything. And to accept with joy the fact that we are a special people with a special God, with a special Torah, and I wish you a special time and a special Chaim, and especially may we all merit the coming of Mashiach. Amen. As I said, timing is everything. I forgot to tell you the joke I had prepared. And we all know that I mentioned being late for a couple of minutes. In a joke, if you forget the punchline 3 seconds too early or 3 seconds too late, you blew it. I blew it now, but I'll tell it to you anyway. Jake was a very, very fine young man, and he idealized his father. Every birthday, the father would buy him a nice birthday present. They would have father-son time, and with always a smile, the father would say to his son, he said, son, when I was 21 years old, it was a very special age for me. It was the first time I walked on water. And in the early ages, the son just accepted that his father could walk on water. But as he was growing up, he said, Dad, are you kidding, or do you promise me? He said, I promise you. When I was 21 years old, I walked on water. As a matter of fact, my father at the age of 21 walked on water. And Jake looks at his dad and says, can I do the same thing? And with a smirk, he said, of course you can. You just have to wait for 21. Anyway, Jake never forgot that, went to college, and at the age of 21 on his birthday, July 17th, he goes out with his best friend on a lake. And he says to his best friend, you're going to see something that's amazing. He said, what is it? You'll see. He takes him into the middle of the lake, and then Jake gets up and prepares to start to go out of the boat. He says, Meshugana, crazy man, what are you doing? He says, well, I am going to walk on water. He says, you can't walk on water. No one walks on water. He says, yes, my father told me, and he told me that his father did it at the age of 21. He says, look, your father was kidding you. No one walks on water. He says, don't call my father a liar. And he walks out of the boat, and sure enough, he goes straight into the water. Being that he was not a great swimmer, it was great difficulty, he was able to be revived. When he came back, a friend said, I told you. And he says, 1 second, before you tell me anything, I got to call up my dad. He calls up his dad. He says, Dad, you got me killed. He says, what are you talking about? He says, you said that I could walk on water at the age of 21. He says, yes, you can. He said, and you said that you did it. Yes, I did. Dad, that's not possible. He said, sure it is. I was in Montreal, and my birthday was February 7th. You got it. He walked on ice. Shalom.